Well, folks, President Joe Biden, I'm sorry, that is Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., is pardoning thousands of Americans convicted of simple possession of marijuana under federal law as his administration takes a dramatic step towards decriminalizing the drug and addressing charging practices that disproportionately impact people of color. Now let me do the translation for this. Midterm elections are coming up in the next month, and Joe Biden ain't doing so hot. And he realized that there's a lot of black people who haven't been served by his presidency, and a lot of us are thinking about leaving the Democrat plantation, so he's going to take somewhat of a drastic step here. Now, Biden's move also covers thousands of convicted of the crime in the District of Columbia. He is also calling on governors to issue similar pardons for those convicted of state marijuana offenses, which reflect the vast majority of marijuana possession cases. Biden, in a statement, has said that this move reflects his position that no one should be in jail just for using or possessing marijuana. Now, mind you, there are people in American prisons and have been people in prisons for using marijuana, and it looked extremely hypocritical for everybody in this country to be outraged because Brittany Griner from the WNBA was sitting in a Russian prison for using marijuana, when we have people here serving life sentences with marijuana convictions. Like, it just didn't make any sense whatsoever. Now, according to the White House, no one is currently in federal prison solely for simple possession of the drug, but the pardon could help thousands overcome obstacles to renting a home or finding a job, which has always been one of the more underrated aspects of the drug war in this country. How many people have struggled to find housing and jobs just because they were convicted of a drug crime? So I definitely agree with that. Good for them. The pardon does not cover convictions for possession of other drugs or for charges relating to producing or possession marijuana with the intent to distribute. I don't know why not. Biden is also not pardoning non-citizens who were in the U.S. without legal status at the time of their arrest. Now, that I agree with. The Department of Justice is working to devise a process for those covered by Biden's pardon to receive a certificate of the pardon, which they can show to potential employers and others when needed. Biden is also directing the Secretary of Health and Human Services and the U.S. Attorney General to review how marijuana is scheduled under federal law. Rescheduling the drug would reduce or potentially eliminate criminal penalties for possession. Marijuana is currently classified as a Schedule I drug alongside heroin and LSD. Wow. But ahead of fentanyl and methamphetamines. The White House did not set a timeline for this review. Now, let me tell you guys how exactly marijuana became illegal, or at least this level of illegal, in the United States of America. I think it's always important to say that before the 20th century, drugs were basically legal in the United States of America. Conservatives love to talk about the Founding Fathers, but the Founding Fathers believed that whatever you put in your body was your own business. That's what they believed. Whatever you put in your body was your own business. Okay? In the 20th century, we had a drug czar named Harry Anslinger, who was a racist, just like most people in power at that time. And they, at the time, decided that marijuana was a dangerous drug because it enticed white women to go along with black men and Hispanic men. Yeah. That was the reasoning for marijuana as a Schedule I drug in this country. The idea that it would influence dainty white women to go along with black men and Hispanic men. And of course, they also blamed jazz music at the time, which, again, blaming black music for society's ills has always been one of America's favorite pastimes. Always. That's one of the reasons why me and Kwabena, as much as I love and respect what Kwabena Rasul has done in this community and does for this community, he's a good brother, me and him will always disagree about vilifying rappers and singers. That is exactly what America has done for 100-something years now. They blame jazz. Then they blame rock and roll. The reason they hated Elvis so much because Elvis, in their opinion, danced and sang like a black dude. And did race music. Now they blame hip hop. I'm so mad I'm punching the mic. Now they blame hip hop for society's ills in Chicago. But the idea that marijuana is a drug that should be scheduled alongside heroin? Wow. And fentanyl. Think about that. Fentanyl is the reason that we are going well over 100,000 overdose deaths yearly now in the United States. Fentanyl is what killed Tom Petty and Prince. Okay? Fentanyl is what is causing mass drug overdoses in the streets, where people are falling down dead after just touching fentanyl. They don't even have to use it. You could just touch something that had the substance on it and it can kill you in its concentrated form. But yes, let's classify marijuana as the same as that. Now, President Biden said that he believes that the federal government and many states, as the federal government and many states ease marijuana laws, they should maintain limitations on trafficking, marketing, and underage sales. The move by Biden puts the federal government on course with other big cities like New York that have been moving towards decriminalizing low-level marijuana arrests for years. But there's a big divide in the nation, as some police departments still believe the drug leads to more serious crime, and ignoring low-level offenses emboldens criminals. Well, that's why you essentially let big business take it over and tax the hell out of it. Duh. Folks, you have to understand, these are the same arguments that were used against making alcohol illegal in the early 20th century. But once we actually banned and made alcohol illegal in this country, guess what happened? The criminality surrounding alcohol flew through the roof, as it tends to do. We saw people like Al Capone and Meyer Lansky and Lucky Luciano and Murder Inc., Albert Anastasia, all these people come to prominence in the 1920s and 30s, the peak of the gangster years in this country before the Great Depression. Prohibition does not work. It has never worked. It will never work. And we learn that in actual prohibition. Let me get this caller. Hello, caller.
How you doing, Scott?
Hey.
You know what?
What's up?
When I was in college, I had to do a report on the Volstead Act, and that's for prohibition. And that's what I did find out, and that's the truth. That when they tried to do the, what you call it, make them like dry counties, or you know what I mean, no alcohol.
Yeah.
Everything went up. I mean, those people was coming on. I mean, domestic violence.
Yep.
Domestic violence.
Mm-hmm.
That's a shame, but it was. People wanted to drink. They wanted to drink, and they couldn't drink, and they went. I mean, crime went through the roof.
Right.
Because of that, and I do agree. If they were to do what they do and just tax it.
Yeah.
And I think that if they could like tax it, it would be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And look at Illinois, and that's why it's kind of different. Because now look, in Illinois, marijuana is legal.
Mm-hmm.
You cross the state line, you go to jail.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Right here in Indiana. So that is true. But I mean, because that's a report that I had to do. I really thought about it, and I remember this lady when I was doing the report. She said, "Yeah, because they had my little old grandmother. Her little old grandmother used to make wine."
Oh.
It sounds funny to think about it. She said, "Yeah." She said her grandmother used to make whatever, like sometimes they would make different kinds of wine out of fruit.
That moonshine. That hooch.
She said, "Yeah, they had her grandmother, because she was making her little stuff at home."
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't go out and just buy it, but when they was trying to have it dry, nobody could get alcohol and stuff. And I think it was a bunch of ladies who started that too. I'm trying to think. That didn't want people to have the drinking.
Yeah, I think they were called the Daughters of Temperance or something like that.
Yeah, it had to do with that. But I said that was really funny. But it was funny, they tried to do that, and I'm telling you, everything went through the roof.
Oh, yeah.
And that wasn't the best thing to do. That's why I guess you got all of this alcohol. People can get it, but that's what I never could understand. Now, you could. I mean, when you drink alcohol, look at the accidents with drunk driving, and people can get killed, get cirrhosis of the liver. Mm-hmm. As long as they can tax it, you can drink it all day long. They don't care.
Yep.
They do not care. But then something such as this, from what I understand, I don't smoke it, don't have it, never done it. But I don't see those kinds of illnesses happening because of marijuana.
Right.
So I don't know.
It doesn't have the type of a death profile that other substances do. It doesn't kill tissue the way that alcohol does.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
Brain tissue.
You know what? But I just think that, as long as they can tax it, they'll be okay. Illinois seem to be doing okay with it.
Oh, yeah. I absolutely agree. Thank you for your call.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with the caller. Think about how many people have been helped, cancer patients, people with AIDS who have been suffering for decades. And medical marijuana has helped a lot of people, a lot of AIDS patients and cancer patients who've lost their appetite are able to eat after using marijuana. Now, I have to disclose, I've never used marijuana. It's not my bag. I don't drink. I don't do any drugs. I'm straight edge. That is the lifestyle for me. Growing up here in Gary, I've seen enough people ruin their lives with drugs and alcohol for me to go, you know what? I think that's not going to be my path. But, hey, everybody do you. Just because I'm not into something don't mean that you can't have your thing. Hello, caller.
Hey, I would just like for you to research the difference between medical marijuana
yes.
and the marijuana that they're smoking out in the streets. Alcohol is illegal.
Yes.
But there's still bootleggers out here that are making moonshine.
Whoa. What is the moonshine market like in comparison to the legal alcohol market?
You wouldn't believe if you go south. I know people that live up this way who they know people who go south regularly every week.
Yeah.
And this guy brings back at least 100 gallons.
So we should make alcohol illegal again?
No, I'm not saying making it legal. What I'm saying is there is still going to be a market for the moonshine and things like that. It's just like marijuana is legal in Illinois.
Okay.
But I'm going to be honest. I still know a bunch of people that sell marijuana, that sell it on the side. Illegal. because it's when you go to the dispensaries in Illinois, you have to show your ID.
Right.
And your ID is put on record. Now, if you have a gun license, that is automatically sent to the state.
Mm-hmm.
So it's certain benefits, it's certain things that buying from a dispensary can count against you. But in this day and age, I think it's always going to be a legal market for marijuana. I wouldn't care what state it's legal in. It is always going to be a legal market for illegal market for the moonshine. That's just the way the world is.
Right. Right. Thank you for your call. It's all good, brother. Well, I mean, look, hey, all we can do is the best we can do. Like I said, we saw what happened when we made alcohol illegal. We saw, like our last caller talked about, the amount of overdose deaths that we had. People used to drink alcohol and go blind in the 1920s and 30s. Now, our last caller says lots of people drinking moonshine and stuff. Well, apparently it ain't having the same effect that the moonshine had during Prohibition, because people are straight up falling dead after drinking moonshine and bootleg liquor during Prohibition. Prohibition, was a disaster. That's why we reversed it. Okay, and so even in a world where I guess a few people still make bootleg liquor, it's not the same as having millions upon millions of people making it like you had then, and having tons of people go blind and overdosing from it. We've seen time and time again, like I said, prohibition does not work. There are countries like Portugal that have decriminalized marijuana and decriminalized all drugs, and drug overdoses and all the problems that they had went down. You tax things, you treat it as a medical issue. Alcohol dependence, drug dependence is a medical issue and should be treated as such. You know how I know? Because Joe Biden's kids ain't sitting in a prison somewhere. Hunter Biden ain't sitting in jail. Amy Biden, or whatever her name is, isn't sitting in jail. I believe it's Amy. I want to say his daughter's name is Amy. Okay, so Joe Biden knew that his kids needed help. Your kids need a jail cell. So you know what you got to do? You got to do what Peter Tosh says. Y'all got to legalize it. Please stay with me here on WLTH 1370 AM. We will be right back after these.